Hi everybody, this is Everyday Commentary, and this is a video overview of this knife, the San Ren Mu 605. San Ren Mu is a Chinese company, and they usually work as an OEM for American companies. An OEM is essentially a subcontractor in the knife business, and what happens is American companies will send design schematics over to San Ren Mu, and they will produce them. And this allows American knife companies to issue very, very inexpensive knives that are still relatively high quality. This is not an OEM-made knife. This is a knife that's made by San Ren Mu, and it's sold under San Ren Mu's logo, under San Ren Mu's name, as you can see right there. This knife is the 605, and there is another knife in this series. I forget the name of it, but it's basically the same knife, except instead of having a drop point, it has a tanto grind. This knife is a very small knife. It's probably a 2-inch blade length, and overall it's, well, let me see here. Look. Downstairs in my workshop, so this is not terribly hard to do. It's just over 5 inches, and it looks like the blade length is right around 2 inches. And the knife is actually quite well made, given how much it costs. I think I got this knife for $9 on Amazon. It has really nice G10 handle scales. I wouldn't say they're the greatest G10. As you can see, there's some discoloration around the places where the pivot or the pillars were screwed in, and there's some discoloration around the lanyard hole. But overall, it's not too grippy. It's probably nowhere near as grippy as some of the other knives you'll see, like a cold steel. But it's good. I mean, it doesn't feel cold to the hand, and the edges are rounded over, which is a nice touch given how much this knife cost. I think this steel is a steel called 8CR 13MOV, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. The CR series is steel produced in China, and it is not a powder metallurgy steel, but it's a regular kind of steel, and it has relatively good stain resistance. It takes an edge very well. It doesn't hold an edge all that long, although it's okay. And this one in particular came kind of dull out of the box. Not like super dull, but I'd like to see it sharper. You know, $9, what are you going to do? The one thing that I would note about this knife, in addition to the steel, is the pivot is really super smooth. So you can coin flick this baby open all day long. And in fact, the fidget factor is really high on this knife. It's quite addictive. The knife does afford a nice 4-finger grip. You get to lock it in, and it looks, you know, a lot of people call this the poor man's Strider PT, and this is just too small to be compared to the Strider PT. I think it's because of the double finger choil. In reality, what this knife is it's a folding knife that's very similar to some of the smaller knives in the Bark River line, something like the Little Creek or the Micro Canadian, in that the handle is significantly longer than the blade. I mean, if you look at it here, this is essentially all handle, and then this is the blade. I've used this knife for a couple days now, and I like it. It's probably a little too small for food prep. It's perfect for opening packages, though. There are a couple of quirks. First of all, I would note that the centering is not perfect. It's not bad. It's not enough to complain about, but it's not perfect. And really, for $9, I expect it to be perfect. The spine is rounded over, which is a nice touch. The exposed tang here is also rounded over, and that's a nice touch. The pocket clip is really well done. I was very surprised about how nice that was. And then the thumb stud is not only placed well, but it's tractioned well. As you can see there, the lockup is is relatively late, but it is not touching. And the knife lockup is actually quite good. I'm really surprised at how solid the lockup is on this little knife. Overall, I think for $9 you'd be hard-pressed to go wrong. I know that some people don't like Chinese-made knives, but you've probably bought Chinese-made knives and not realized it. Or you've probably bought Chinese-made knives from American companies that have been made by this same company, San Ren Mu. And I know there is a great deal of controversy surrounding the San Ren Mu 710, which is their Sebenza-like clone. But this knife is pretty unique. It's a wholly unique design by San Ren Mu. One other really strange thing, and let me see if I can catch it in the light. You can kind of see it right there. At the very tip of the knife, where it gets thinned out to go to the point, the whole knife is thinned out to go to the point. Instead of doing like a grind here grind this way and a grind this way, they basically just like truncated the knife and then ground the tip off. I'm not sure if this makes it cheaper or easier to produce, but it's very strange. I've never seen this on any knife I own. You can see it right there. It's a distinctive thing, and if you're feeling it, you can definitely tell. The knife is a full flat grind, and then it's ground up here at the tip in a really odd way. It doesn't really affect cutting performance. It's just something that's strange and noteworthy. The other thing that I would note is that while the knife is good for opening packages and things like that, it is really too small for food prep. I mean, you're gonna tax this thing out doing like a strawberry. I haven't put it through any hard use yet, and I don't intend on like killing it. But thus far, for $9, you can't go wrong. It's a nice little, easy to use, easy to carry, everyday folder.